Greetings, Nigel here again. Welcome to another live broadcast. My intention in this broadcast is sharing the gift of errors, leveraging the gifts of errors. Why is this important? In the normal world, most people, including myself, are trained to avoid errors. We like to get it right and get it right first time, or just get it as close to perfection as possible. And what I found is that can add to delay because perfection causes procrastination. And one of the themes for this week or last week was leveraging the gift of avoidance. Now, I've been looking at errors during my engineering career and in my other career as a professional in the personal development space. And what I'm seeing is that errors are wonderful things, and errors exist here on Earth, and they can be leveraged for activating greatness. So, first of all, who is this for? This talk, the presentation, is for individuals who are either in personal development or committed to being great in their field. Ideally, entrepreneurs and leaders of organizations where there is a growth intention or there is an intention to take performance to a much higher level. So this talk is for them, for us. And it's going to look at errors as a tool, errors as a gift, errors as something that can be leveraged for enhancing performance. So if you're watching this live or in the replay, then you can actually, I'll be posting a link that allows you to practice with me. It's the complimentary session, and you can go to that link and basically come into my studio and we can work out together, and you can start applying some of the principles that I'll be sharing in this talk. So let's get into it. I have rigged up a little diagram here that allows me to illustrate what I'm talking about. So let me just share my screen with you. Yes. So this diagram is basically the diagram of the gift of error. And basically what it's saying is that human beings have intentions, and our intention is to manifest, we want to manifest intentions into reality. So the intention is the thing on the left, and reality is the thing on the right. Let me know if you can see that. Let me just check if people are seeing me. Let me just check that. I think so. So I'm just going to go back to the screen. So people's intentions are, as a human being, my job is to manifest my intentions, which is on the left. Intentions are stored in my heart, and make them real, bring them into reality. And how I know it's real is because it's measurable. So I'll just attempt to write this word measurable here. Now my tool isn't working. What's up with that? Measurable. measurable. Something is real when it's measurable, meaning it has numbers, it's got location, it's got weight, you can touch it, feel it, you can measure it in 3 dimensions. And so human beings' job is manifesting intentions into reality. An intention can be an idea, a thought, a vision, a outcome, but it all starts in the heart as an intention, and it's moving into reality. So the first thing I'd like to do is define the word error. What is the definition of error? An error is the gap between what I intended and what I actually produced. So let me just say that again. Error is the gap between what I intended and what I produced. So if I was shooting an arrow and I was aiming for the bullseye, and what I hit was the outer ring, then the gap between the bullseye, my intention, and the outer ring is my error. And to the degree that I can measure that gap, then I can have access to some very wonderful pieces of information. And so there's a thing in engineering called whatever I measure, I can improve. So as long as I can measure the gap between my intention and my reality, then theoretically I can improve that gap. So let me just, there it is. I'm editing the spelling there. It should say gap. So that's our definition of error is the gap between my intention and reality. The next thing is what causes error. Obviously, Nigel, an error is the gap between my intention. But how comes we get this gap? Why doesn't the dart, when I shoot it, go straight to the bullseye? The cause of error comes down to one thing, I would say, attention. To what degree am I paying attention to my intention? What degree am I paying attention to my intention? And when that attention, my attention is lined up with my intention, then I'm taking aim. And when it is lined up, the likelihood of me making an error is much smaller. Another cause of error is, I would say, practice. There's a thing called ready, fire, aim. I'm ready to fire. I fire and I look where the dart lands. It it landed over there. There's an error, and then I go, whoa, what can I learn from that error? And I get the dart, shoot it again, and then it gets closer. So the gap is getting smaller because I am practicing. But in any attempt at my practice, then the gap is determined by my degree to which my aim and my effort is in alignment. So I'm just going to say errors are caused by a gap between my attention, when my attention goes away from my intention. So if I take my eye away from the dartboard and look up there and then I shoot, there's a strong likelihood that I'm going to create an error. So I'm sure there's more causes of errors, but I'm just going to check that box and say that the cause is about attention and alignment with intention. So then, okay, Nigel, so we know what it is. Error is the gap between intention and attention. The cause by attention being out of alignment, distractions, for example, with the aim. Am I aiming in the right place? So then what are the gifts of errors? Why is this word gifts in here? Let's have a look at the gifts of error. Just to illustrate that, my background, I said, is from aircraft, aviation. And when a plane crashes, we know something goes wrong. And we call that, whatever that is, we're going to call it an error. some people call it a failure, but we'll call it an error. But we cannot know how to fix the error until we find the error. So during the plane crash, they actually go and look for what we call the black box or the flight recorder. And this black box is registering all the activity on the plane so that when they examine what was going on just before the crash, they can see or discover where the error is, what caused the error, when did the gap occurred between the intention and the attention. Let me just see. Let's see if people are paying attention. Let me see if there's any comments in the box. I'm just going to pause for a minute and see if there are any comments. Uh-oh. Let's see. I'm getting a message from one of my clients. Okay. I think we're okay here. If you're watching live, just put a comment in the chat to give me some feedback to let me know if you can see my my diagrams, if I'm kind of rambling, what's going on, because I may be making some errors. I see my wonderful friend Bettina, and just give me a thumbs up to let me know that I'm doing well or if there are any errors. So I'm going to share my screen again, and my diagram, which I'm using to illustrate the gift of errors. Let's see. Here we go again. Share. And there it is. I'm trusting that you can see it. And I'm making a mark on my iPad here. So yes, what is the gift of the error, Nigel? Well, the first thing is the error contains the upgrade. The error contains the upgrade. So one way to illustrate this is another great company, Apple. They have iPhones, and each iPhone, and they have OS operating systems, and each of their products has a version on it, especially operating system. And what I've noticed is that they issue upgrades to their operating system frequently, both for the iOS devices and the Mac devices. And when I look at these upgrades, I look at the release note, and most often than not, when you ask, what is in this upgrade, it's called a bug fix. And a bug fix is code for error fix. Okay? In other words, we found some errors that was preventing the system from fulfilling its intention. Its behavior in reality was less than what we intended, and we found that there was an error, or we call it a bug in software. And so we have fixed the bug, and we are now issuing another version of the operating system with the bug fix, and that version has a higher number, like OS 10, OS 11, OS 10.5, or something like that, which means that we fix the errors. And so the error is an opportunity for me to upgrade my my operations, my systems, my product. Whenever we find errors, we use them to upgrade. So in the case of the aircraft, when they find the bug that caused the plane to crash, they fix it, and then they roll it out to all the aircraft so they're all upgraded to this new specification that prevents that error from occurring again. And now they're monitoring the plane again, looking for errors. Now, I just had a session with a client, and I noticed that she was getting frustrated a lot. So another gift of the gift of errors is that it causes the gift of frustration. Then if you've ever tried to do something like I've been attempting to get this diagram whiteboard thing working, and I kept on getting it wrong. the system crashed a few times. The whiteboard's not working, and delay when I write on it, it takes a long time. My handwriting, I made errors in my spellings. Oh my God, so many errors. And when I deal with errors, I get the gift of frustration. So, what is the gift of frustration? It's an emotion in my body that reminds me to upgrade my practice, interestingly enough. At the lower levels of awareness, people use frustration to give up, to quit, to, you know, and like, I'm frustrated. I can't do this anymore. They throw the pen down or throw down the thing and leave it. And I give up. Whereas in the land of human greatness activation, we're like, ooh, our frustration is my new best friend. And frustration is always with me. She's always tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Nigel, you made an error, or your intention and your reality is out of alignment. Would you like to upgrade, please? And so errors trigger the gift of frustration, and the gift of frustration is an emotion reminding me to upgrade my offer, my product, my approach, my language, my tone, just go vertical. Wonderful things. So I hope that explains the gift of error and some of the gifts that come out of it. One, it always contains the lesson. In golf, golf is a game of errors. And it's strange, interestingly enough, when someone's playing golf, they never expect to get the ball in the hole first time. Hole in one, I think it's called. Rather, they aim at the flag or the hole. The ball lands somewhere on the green, and there's a gap between where they intended it to land, which is in the hole, and where it actually lands, which is somewhere on the green. And that gap, again, is called the error. And then you notice they'll change they'll upgrade not the racket, the club. And they'll use a different club to give them more precision, more focus, and upgrade on the instrument they're using to get the ball in the hole. And then they'll tap it, they'll putt it, and it will go, again, close to the hole. It may not go in, and the error starts getting smaller. And the golfer will, go down and look at it, and they'll look at it and say, oh yeah, what do I need to change about my putting or my swing or my whatever it is that they do on a golf course, so that this ball can go in and the error will go down smaller or go to zero. And so then they upgrade their putter, and they'll upgrade their stance or their position. And usually there's a third party looking at them, coach, advisor, caddy, that's helping them to make the adjustments to the upgrade. Also, some people call those people a spotter. So one of the things that helps with upgrading from the gift of errors is having a observer or third party that is measuring the error or measuring the change that I must do for leveraging the gift of errors. So I see that I'm naturally moving into the next part of practicing leveraging the gift of errors. And so, what does that look like, Nigel? The practice of leveraging the gift of errors. So, there was a time in American history and Japanese history where after World War II, I think the Japanese were manufacturing products, but they had low raw material. They didn't have a lot of metal and stuff, so they kind of made do with what they had. And as a result, their products was not as great as they intended. And so during the early 40s and 50s, if something's had made in Japan, it was automatically assumed that it was low quality, inferior product. And around that similar period, a guy called Deming, I've forgotten his first name, came up with this ingenious use or practice for leveraging the gift of errors. And the basic principle or practice behind the gift of errors is whatever I measure, I can improve. And basically, he said, listen, if you know these errors that you okay, it looks like I have been muted all this time. I can see the diagram. You're muted. Okay. All right, my peoples. I'm going to have to start again. All right. What I'm going to do is start again. Okay. So if you're watching this, you probably didn't hear most of it. So what I'm going to do, oh, apparently from my feedback is that I muted out on the Japanese story. So I'm going to go back and talk about the practices of um, leveraging the gift of errors. So let me see if I can share my screen again. 1 second, let me see. Let me see what I'm doing. So let me share my screen. I think you should be able to see this. Yes. So we talked about definition of errors, the cause of errors, and the gifts of errors. And now I was going to talk about the practice of leveraging the gift of errors. And the practice, I was using the story from the Japanese, the history of Japan, and after World War II, they really had low raw materials, low quality and low and scarce. So when they manufactured products like the radio and the cars that they used to export, it was synonymous with junk. Like if it said made in Japan, it meant junk because there were so many errors in their manufacturing process that nobody wanted a Japanese product. Um, so um, So there was a guy at the time called Mr. Deming who had been studying errors and found out that if I measure errors, when I measure errors and keep statistics about the errors, for some reason, just by measuring them, the number of errors actually go down and the size of the errors go down. And this is related to the act of measuring something brings my attention to it. And whatever I bring my attention to tends to grow and get better. So he introduced this practice. I think I forgot what I called it, but it is called continuous improvement by continuous measuring of errors and then leveraging the gifts of the errors to improve the product. So the story goes, he actually came first to the American manufacturers and said, hey guys, we can make the American car even better than it is. And at the time in the 50s, there was no real, because all the other countries in the world were still recovering from the war. America was the only country that really, they basically dominated the market. And so they said, we don't need to improve our cars. It's wonderful as it is. So Mr. Deming took his measuring process, continuous improvement, quality assurance process to Japan. And the Japanese people, government, manufacturers were like, yes, whatever you say, we will do it because we would like to improve the quality of our products. And whatever, what do we have to do? Measure these errors, you say? Sure, show us how to do it. And so they implemented this quality management process, continuous improvement processes across all their industry. And within, I think, 10 years, by the 70s, the Japanese products were much better. In fact, they were much better than the American product, so much so that people bought them, but they still had a reputation because of the previous decade that, oh yeah, Japanese products are junky, but they had improved the quality because of this process. And 20 years later, their product was still running, whereas a lot of American cars started to fall apart. The Japanese product was still running. And to this day, it's called Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, Kawasaki. And these products are so well made, Lexus, that they're outselling the American products because of the quality that was built into them using this practice of measuring errors. So I think the American industry caught on to it later, and now you can see that all the American manufacturers, their quality is now caught up with the Japanese quality. But this is why we see so many Japanese products, or especially cars, on the market, is because they were leveraging the gift of errors. So how can I use this practice in my work, in my business, in my life, in my relationships? Errors occur on Earth. Earth is a place of errors. Therefore, the first thing to recognize is there is no perfection on Earth. Let me just get out of this screen here and go back to just being me. Oh yeah, there I am. Yes, there is no perfection on Earth. There are always errors in all things, whatever I'm doing. So expect the errors. Let me just share that screen one more time so you can remind you the definition of the errors. Okay, here we go, Nigel. Click. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yes, I hope you can see that. Error, the definition of error is the gap between intention and reality. The cause of errors is always practicing without paying attention, taking my attention away from my intention, away from my intention, and then it's almost like throwing a dart with my eyes closed. I'm no longer paying attention. Therefore, I'm going to cause an error. And sometimes errors occur, all errors occur without awareness. When awareness is low, errors increase. Let me just check, see what messages I'm getting. Not seeing the screen. Okay, great. You can see the screen now. Also, so that's the cause, what are the gifts of errors? The gifts of errors is that all errors contain lessons, and lessons can be used for upgrading my relationships, my lifestyle, my product, my process, my product, my operating system, my computers. This is what all great producers do. They use errors to upgrade. Now, what is the relationship between practice and error? Here's a good definition. Practice is the rapid and frequent detection and recovery from error. Interesting. Practice is the rapid and frequent detection and recovery from error. And so then we go, okay, well, how should we practice leveraging the gifts of these errors? Number one is to measure the errors. The first practice is keep track of your errors. One of the practices I have here is virus-infected words. Virus-infected words cause people to speak against their own intentions. And so let me just come out of the screen here. And when people are speaking and they stop paying attention to their words, they literally say something they didn't intend, which causes errors, misunderstandings, problems on earth, and we're back to seeing errors again. And errors, when they're not measured, they multiply until the gift is extracted. So the practice is start measuring them. Like, ooh, I made 2 errors today. I made an error in my sales process. I made an error in my relationship. Errors everywhere. Errors are everywhere. And they're strange creatures that they will shrink when you look at them. If I look at an error, the error will shrink. So that's recommended practice. Then once I start measuring them, I can also examine the error and extract the gift from the error. Okay, man, this was a broadcast about errors that was full of errors. I think one of the errors I made is that I failed to unmute myself. Another error I made is I think I may have not been showing the screen. Lots of errors I make. I may have forgot my lines. Either way, whatever the error is, my practice improves. Sorry, the errors get less with practice. I assure you, when I do this talk again, the number of errors that I make will go down because I'm going to review this presentation to find my errors. So that's it for now, my peoples. If you're the audience that I serve are individuals who are committed to greatness. Greatness is an inherent quality of all human beings, and it is actually desperate to express itself. And in order for it to be expressed, it must be activated. And so I've created a process called human greatness activation. And for those who would like to experience a sample of human greatness activation, I will put a link in the chat where you can basically get a complimentary session. And this greatness can be the expression of any dimension of your life. I prefer working with seasoned business owners who are already successful, making 6 figures or more in their business. And what they're interested in is destiny and legacy and greatness. For that experience, what is required is upgrade in practices and precision and reduction of errors, getting rid of thoughts that contain errors. And so what I'm looking for here is my link to provide you with access to it. In fact, here it is. 1 second, my peoples. Here it is. So if you'd like to experience a complimentary activation session where your greatness, which is basically the highest version of the self without the errors, or let's just say a low level version of me is me with a lot of bugs and errors, and a higher level of me is me minus the errors or with smaller errors, and me wiser because I have actually extracted the gifts of my errors. So with that said, I'm going to stop here. I thank you for patience with me watching me debug my own errors in this presentation. And I look forward to my next broadcast. Looking forward to all those who are watching this. Please comment, share some errors that you're experiencing. If you'd like to come on my show and have a live interactive error debugging session, that would be also awesome. So until then, this is Nigel signing out, and I look forward to the next broadcast. Thank you. Bye.